Okay, welcome everyone to the July 2023 meeting of CPO1. And yes, we would appreciate if you will turn off your cameras while we are beginning the meeting. And I will share. Oh, I just forgot to bring up our Kalapuya. Let me get that. There it is. Oh, good. All right. We acknowledge the people on whose land we live, the Atfaladi Kalapuyans, also known as the Tualatin Band of Kalapuyans, the first inhabitants of Washington County. We are grateful for the land we are on, Kalapuyan land. Signers of the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 were removed from their homelands to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Today, their descendants are tribal members of Grand Ronde and Follett tribes, carrying on the traditions and cultures of their ancestors. We acknowledge and express gratitude to the ancestors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their continuation in our community. I'd like to invite all of us to reflect on the role government has played in the painful colonial history and reflect as well on the resilience and healing of the indigenous land and communities. We invite everyone to collaborate and work together with the tribe to take care of the land and water and the people who inhabit these spaces. And I would like to add the wildlife, but also there's currently a very wonderful exhibition at the Washington County Museum. They've been closed since COVID began and doing everything online, but they currently have an exhibition honoring 5 Oaks. It's called Replenishing the Root. The 5 Oaks was a place in kind of central north of Hillsborough that the native people met at to trade and just get together. And then it became a meeting place for the colonists, also known as pioneers. And there's one of the original old 5 oak trees still standing, and I believe it's in progress, some kind of a memorial interpretive something or other there. But anyway, 5oaksmuseum.org, I believe is their website, and you can find out more about the exhibition. They have fairly limited hours, but make an effort. It's wonderful. It's everything from Native American artifacts and information about how they lived around here to later information, and it's definitely worth your time. Okay, hi Bruce. Let's promote you to the panelist. And Sam said she has to leave. I'm promoting people. Promote. And if anyone else, if I didn't ask you to promote yourself to panelist and you're going to be speaking, please let me know. Put up your hand. I think we're getting good. There's Mary Lou. Hi, Mary Lou. Okay. So the first thing in our agenda is the welcome and introductions, which we just did. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. CPI agenda, there we go. And just to be sure everybody understands, we are live on YouTube, and after the meeting, it will be available on YouTube. And I'm just putting in the link to our June meeting, which was fun. Bruce is down at, oh, you're not there.
No, I got down to community housing and nobody was there. And I had forgotten to take my phone, which is the hotspot to do the broadcast through, as we don't have any wireless internet that I'm aware of there. So I came home to get my phone. The meeting started. I thought, well, I could go back down and sit in the room by myself, or I could stay at home. So I'm going to stay at home, folks. There is no in-person meeting going on. We apologize for leading you on about being in person.
Well,
we'll be doing that in September.
And our guest was originally intending to be there as well, and he's not. So, you know, personally, because of my deafness, I love online meetings because I can hear everybody right here. But I understand some people like it, and we'll keep doing it. And maybe one of these days we'll just be overwhelmed with in-person guests. Bruce, I'm going to promote you to co-host. And that means that you get to keep an eye on the attendees and promote anybody that needs it.
You got it.
I think we're doing okay for now. And I finally got back to my agenda here. And I'll say it again, we really could use a few people to help us update our CPO1 Facebook page, I think we got the YouTube thing pretty well figured out. I finally separated the CCI channel and the CPO channel. The mysteries of YouTube and Zoom and everything are a constant ongoing challenge, but we're getting closer and closer to having some idea of what we're doing.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing, Virginia. Thank you.
And on that note, the CCI is the leadership group of all the CPOs in Washington County. And we have subcommittees, and one of them is the communications subcommittee. And I've just recently taken back the chair position with that because the person who was chairing it moved to Florida, which I don't understand, but that's her choice. Anyway, if anyone is interested in helping us, the first meeting is going to be tomorrow afternoon, and we're working on technical stuff on group emails, Zoom, YouTube, that kind of stuff. So if there's anybody who has an interest in that, it seems to me that a good part of our job as a CPO is communicating. And these days that means understanding some technical stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about. If anybody's interested, I will type CCI leaders at gmail.com. That is our group email address, which Bruce and I will get at the moment. And you can let me know. I would love to have folks jump in. You don't have to be a CCI member. You just have to want to help get better communications going between the CPOs and each other and our members. I think that pretty much covers it. All right, so we have service provider updates, and I'm just going to go. Let's go in alphabetical order. Is there anyone here from Beaverton School District? I don't think so. Then we have Clean Water Services. I believe we have somebody from Clean Water Services. Am I wrong? Justin, did you say you were with Clean Water Services?
I'm Tualatin Valley Water District.
Ah, see, I get confused. Everybody gets confused. All right. Okay. So the next alphabetically would be TVFNR, and I know we have someone from that. So go ahead and turn your camera on, and I'm going to turn mine off.
All right. Thanks for having me. My name's Gavin Price, Lieutenant with Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, Station 60. That's up here at Cornell and 95th. Just have a few things, not a whole lot tonight to talk about, just some updates. First one, we've got a recruit academy that's going to be starting August 1st. There's going to be 15 new firefighters. And then we also have an academy of 7 single role paramedics. So they're not doing the firefighter. They're strictly doing the medical EMS role. About 2 weeks ago, hopefully you guys were able to get in your mail. We sent out a Safety Matters newsletter. So I kind of wanted just to go over some of the highlights on that if you guys did not get it. Some of the stuff it talked about was the bond update, and that's from 2021. That was the cost neutral replacement bond. I don't have exact dates like when all this stuff is going to be taking place, but some of the future things that are going to be taking place with the bond. There's going to be some improvements to our training props and building at the district's aging training center. So that'll be a good thing. We're looking at replacing the King City Station, which is Station 35, and Aloha Fire Station, which is Station 62. The bond's also going to help us to acquire some land for future fire stations where growth is expected to occur. And then we're also looking at doing seismic upgrades and some security improvements around the district. Some other things, I think I brought this up at the last 2 meetings, but we're always looking at hiring. We're looking to hire firefighter paramedics to join our team. If you guys know anybody interested, you can have them visit our website, which is www.tvfr.com. There's a ton of information that talks about it. And there's also, if you go onto that website, there's a thing that says you can subscribe to, it's called Notify Me. And basically in that, you just put in your email and then you'll get postings of when jobs are occurring here at Tualatin Valley. There was a Chief's Corner in that newsletter. So Chief Derek Weiss, he wrote an article in that. If you have not seen that, there's some stuff about talking to your kids about fire and life safety. And it also had numbers from last year, which was 2022, that I just wanted to go over. Hopefully, I'm not sure if anybody knows this, but last year we responded to 60,745 incidents, which included 44,521 medical calls, 3,604 MVAs, 1,128 fires, and then 128 hazmat, water, and technical rescue calls. Other than that, I don't have anything unless anybody has any questions for me.
Yeah, I do.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I was driving on West Union Road at the intersection with 143rd.
Okay.
And came upon a big pile of windshield glass that was broken out in a heap on the at the intersection. And so I drove down to the fire station on Thompson, just around the corner from this, and was thinking I'd be going to an office, but there was no office open. And I was able to use the intercom on the side of the building to leave a message. And I never knew, I mean, the glass was gone basically the next day, but is there a way of contacting personnel in a fire office directly from the street?
Probably not. So that's not, so was this from a car wreck or something?
I guess. I mean, some car lost a lot of wind.
Yeah. So usually what happens is after we get, stabilized patients, they get transported, when the tow truck company comes, a lot of times they sweep up all that stuff, and all that glass and stuff should get thrown in the vehicle or on their rig. Otherwise, it's more of a, depending on where, it's more of a county or city or issue, if that makes sense, that you'd have to get a hold of. But the fire department doesn't come out to pick up the glass, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I mean, since you respond to accidents, and this seemed to have come from an accident, I was surprised to see, a 5-gallon bucket of broken glass in the middle of the
Yeah,
street.
that's kind of surprising because that usually goes with the tow company along
Yeah.
with the vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's a little weird.
So in that kind of case, we would call the non-emergency police, the non-emergency public safety number.
I'm just trying to think what a good number off the top. I can try to get you a good number. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's the 629-9111 is the
That's
non-emergency.
the non-emergency.
Maybe that's the number.
Yeah, and they could, which goes to the dispatch center, and they could dispatch somebody from the county that can bring a cleanup crew to come out and pick that stuff up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So it's fire season, and as we all drive around the community, we notice lots, often empty lots that may be awaiting development or something with overgrown grass and stuff. And we have heard in the past that the county enforcement isn't very responsive, but I had an experience last fall, or I'm not even sure exactly when it was, but I reported an issue in my neighborhood, and the guy was out in a day or two, and the whole place got mowed right away.
Huh.
Is that because we all want to keep from having little wildfires in our neighborhoods, and some property owners they're either absentee or they just don't care, or they're cheap or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was no mow May, to let grass grow during the month of May for pollinators, and then you mow it. So there is
well, yeah, but it's not May anymore.
Unfortunately,
it was May when somebody turned me in for my 1 acre of unmowed grass this year, and the county code enforcement officer came out, and it mailed me notification, and then I never heard back. I mean, I mowed the field, but I never heard back whether the case was closed. So the county code inspectors they do kind of a half a job, it seems. They tell you that something is wrong, but they don't circle back and say it's okay, which leaves
this sounds like something that would be good for me to address in Cedar Mill News about how do you report hazards?
Yeah,
and how do you know they're resolved?
As far as the fire, like, we have absolutely no authority to tell somebody. I mean, we can tell someone, hey, it would be good for you to mow it, it's a fire danger, but we can't force anybody to do anything. It's the responsible.
Do you have enough property record information to know who the stuff belongs to?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. But
no, I don't have that information.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's worth exploring because people want to be helpful, and they sure don't want to see fire happen in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Mary Lou has her hand up. Is this about the TBF and our chat? Mary Lou?
Mary Lou, you're live.
Hello, calling you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. For some reason, the chat is disabled. And for another thing, I'd like to know how many people are attending the meeting.
Oh, well, we have 7 attendees and 9 panelists at the moment.
And is there some reason that the chat is disabled?
No, I can't imagine why. It's working for me.
Okay, well, it's disabled for us.
I will look into that. But let's focus on TBFNR. Are there any more questions? Raise your hand. I see Nancy Hazelet has her hand raised. Nancy, unmute. Hi, Nancy. Hello, Nancy. Okay, going once, going twice. The next person on our list is Tualatin Hills Parks and Recs. Thank you very much, Gavin.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yes, Nicole Paulson with THPRG. She is a park planner.
Hi,
The
everybody.
absolute person who knows what's going on.
I hope so. I've got some updates here from the district. Again, my name is Nicole Paulson. I'm a park planner and liaison for Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District. So if you have any questions, please feel free to either raise your hand after or throw them in the chat, and I'm happy to try to answer them. Just a few things to let you know that's going on in the district. Just this past June, our board of directors adopted our next year's budget. And like many agencies, we continue to experience significant funding shortfalls in a variety of ways. So looking ahead, the district is going to be finding new ways to fill in funding gaps over the next few years, and been discussing different funding options and exploring an operating levy, which other agencies have looked at as well and utilized in the past. So THPRD will be forming a community-led group to explore the possibility of an operating levy for voter consideration sometime in 2024, and more information will come out about that later on. Sports court updates for those that are interested in pickleball. There were lines added to 4 more tennis courts at the Sunset Swim Center, outdoor courts at Garden Home Park, Center Street Park, and the Sunset Park have been repaired also. So that is very exciting. Different activities in the summer. We've got our rec and nature mobiles out providing free programming in local parks. Feel free to look at our website for information on where they will be. And the summer fitness in our park program has a full calendar of free fitness in the park for this summer. So you can find that on our schedule at the website as well. And different events happening around July. We've got July 27th is our summer concert in the park over at Commonwealth Lake from 6 to 8. July 28th is our big picnic in the park over at the Tualatin Hills Athletic Center. And July 29th, we have our Peruvian Culture Fest at Cedar Hills Rec Center from 3 to 8. And you can get more information on our website. Those are the basic updates for the district this month. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Oh, Stacy has her hand up. Stacy, you should be live.
Hello. Hello. Hi. I was hoping to get information about pickleball courts. And I know I heard the locations for new courts with new lines painted. What would be the place that folks could find that information best? And also as a follow-up, is there a way to make reservations at pickleball courts?
I believe there is. I will actually jump off as soon as I'm done here. I will jump off and get some information on our website and post it in the chat if that would be helpful for you.
I would be very grateful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just a brief comment. I keep trying to get information to publish in Cedar Mill News, and the THPRG website is a huge mystery to me. All the events that I looked at for this last month, the links only went to the volunteer information and not to any information about those events. And I know it's not your purview, and I've had these discussions with Holly and her assistant, but if you can just, maybe if you're in a meeting with those guys, to me, part of the job of the park district is providing information. And when the website isn't updated and the links aren't good and stuff, it just seems like a priority that isn't being met for the participants, for the clients. So if you don't mind carrying the message, I figure the more places that community involvement hears it from, the better. We're doing our best to try to bring our readers information about park events and activities in our area, and it's a challenge.
Virginia, can you help me better understand? Is that when you go on the calendar of events on our
Yep.
webpage? It doesn't click to the link for whatever it is.
This last month, every time you click on a link, in the past, it had a page that talked about the event, maybe had an image, had some. This time, it was nothing but volunteer, talking about the volunteer opportunities for those events. And that isn't fairly very helpful. Enough of my problem. Unless anybody else has, let's see, I do see somebody with their hand up. Who is it? No, yes, Becky. Becky, you can talk.
Okay. Hi, Virginia.
Hi.
Bruce, Mary Lou can see the message in chat just like me, but it's still disabled and we can't respond to you, just FYI.
Well, yes, and I did my best. So what happened was, Sam is our OEICE person, and she generally sticks around for at least the beginning of the meeting. But she had someplace else to be, and she made me the host. And I have no idea how to change that setting, and I may not be able to.
I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry. You can see it when I post to everyone.
Right.
But you can't post.
That's right.
Well, let's just everybody raise your hands, and if you have something that you want to say, we'll keep.
Okay,
Bruce and I'll keep an eye on that. I'm really sorry.
No worries. I have something I'd like to say to THPRD person.
Wonderful.
Okay. I was wondering if you could please, speaking of links, as far as the centers go, you can click a link that will show you all of the aquatics, which is wonderful. So if it's, you know what I mean? If it's like a Tuesday and you want to swim, you can click a link and you'll see all of the pools, who's open, what has classes, blah, blah, blah. It's awesome. But please, could you do the same thing for fitness? Because as it is now with fitness, if it's a Tuesday morning and you want to do some fitness, you have to click on LC Stir, then you have to click on Cedar Hills, then you have to click on Conestoga, then you have to, and it can drive you completely over the edge.
You know, this makes me think that we need to bring THPRD as a featured topic for an upcoming CPO meeting, because being in the urban unincorporated, THPRD is our only source for community activities, for places to have community, and it's really important. And it's been a long time since we could bring a team, Nicole and Holly, and does that sound like something you guys could do? Maybe September, October? We'll just do an overview.
I will definitely relay that information. I'm not sure what our communication schedule is, but
right. And
but
we don't have to do it right away, but let's do that.
I'm happy to ask them and get that in their
Great.
plan that in their purview.
Well, we have a couple more people with their hands raised. Stacy and Becky. Becky, did you have more to say?
No, I just was hoping that my request would get passed along.
Yeah, well, to be perfectly honest, I've had frustrating situations with THPRD and communications, and I just keep emphasizing that communication is part of the job. And Cedar Mill News is unusual, and we have our demand or our request as far as being able to share information with our readers. But the website, your website is the only source for most of it, and it needs to be a higher priority.
Very much understandable. Becky, I do have your note jotted down. And so I will definitely be passing that along with yours, Virginia. And
Great.
Thank you, Nicole. Just if you want to just picture the funny part, I find it faster now to actually have the printed pages from all the centers of their fitness in the car. And I just pick up the stack if it's a Tuesday morning and I fan them out on the seat in the car and I look down. That's what I do.
Yeah. Okay. Stacy.
Just a comment, Nicole, another website comment that there seems to be a link that's not working when you're looking at the pickleball information. If you want to create an account from that page, the link doesn't, it goes to a page that says it's not active. So for those people who need to create an account using pickleball as a launching place, they would have a hard time. That's all. Thank you.
That is a great point, and I will definitely be passing that on to our crew. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Okay, I think we covered everyone that had questions. Wow. I didn't expect all that much feedback, but you know, we love the Park District and we depend on you guys, and having good access to information is part of the job. Anyway, enough. Our next person is Tualatin Valley Water District.
Thanks, Virginia. I'm Justin Dyke with Tualatin Valley Water District. I believe this is my first time at this CPO, so thank you for the welcome and having me on.
Welcome.
I'm coming today to talk about the rise in temperatures as we get into summer weather. We want to remind everybody that the best and way to use your water outdoors is to use it efficiently. We do have a lot of information on our website, especially as irrigation season starts up here in earnest. And we want to remind folks they can go to tvwd.org/irrigation at that website. I'll put a link in the chat here in a moment. But at tvwd.org/irrigation, folks can sign up to receive what is called the weekly watering number. And that is a pre-populated number of the amount of minutes grass needs to be watered each week, depending on recent rain or lack thereof, temperatures and wind and weather forecasts, all calculated for our area here in the West Hills and in the larger Beaverton area. This is something that's provided by the Regional Water Consortium, and it's a great way for folks who don't have maybe the latest smart irrigation controllers. It's a great way for them to know how to irrigate the right amount of water onto their lawn to have nice green grass, but not be spending a lot of extra water and thus money watering when it might not be needed. As well as the summer heat increases and water usage goes up around the house. If anyone's like me with kids in the house, you know, it's always a great thing to know how to conserve water, especially with everyone home during the summer. So tvwd.org/conservation has lots of tips on in-home and outside of the house water conservation tips, tricks, and ways to make sure you're using your water and thus the money you spend on your water as effectively and efficiently as possible. That's really what we've got to share for this month, all about the weather and making sure water is being used smartly. So I'll post those links in the chat here, and I am available. I'll stick around for a little while after this in case there are any questions from folks in attendance today.
Yeah, are you guys the ones that I'm sorry, it's sometimes hard to keep it straight, but there's been a lot of publicity about not rinsing your dishes before they go in the dishwasher? I keep seeing that. Is that you or Clean Water Services?
That's typically more Clean Water Services, because that is water that will go out through your sewer main and into the sanitary system after with them.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I keep seeing all these public service announcements that said, save water, don't rinse your dishes before you put them in the dishwasher.
Gotcha.
I thought
those might be just more generic messaging from maybe a larger organization like the American Water Works Association or something. We have not specifically put out that message ourselves. We have kind of danced around some of those messages before, but we find that it's a little too detail oriented in terms of what type of dishwasher folks have. A lot of the times we say it is more efficient to use your dishwasher than to fill a sink with water and try and use hand washing. But that is in most cases when we say today's more current dishwashers within the last 5 years that are WaterSense approved are significantly more efficient with their water use than filling a sink or leaving a sink tap running at a very low rate while you wash your dishes. So that's our guidance, is to use the dishwasher if it's a newer high efficiency water sense approved dishwasher. I know particularly for me at my home, we have a water sense approved efficient dishwasher, and it does require a little bit of rinsing sometimes before. And that's just depends on, you know, like I said, I've got young
I
kids.
haven't found it works for me. I need to rinse things just a little bit. I tried it and I got dirty dishes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's aspirational. Yeah,
Exactly.
but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it on OPB. I'm seeing it everywhere. So anyway, I think unless anybody has any questions, I really appreciate your attending. It's definitely confusing for people between TBWG and CWS, Clean Water Services. And I was at a focus group a few years ago, and I don't even remember which agency it was. And that was one of the major topics.
Yeah, we have gotten that feedback, and it's something we're working to address. You know, the thing that the reason a lot of folks get us confused is that when you get a bill, it's from both agencies on one piece of paper or one email. If you get digital bills, that is a cost savings measure, which saves both organizations and thus our ratepayers and customers a significant amount of money, just on the administrative side of processing bills, because all TBWD customers are Clean Water Services customers. They're the larger organization as a county services agency. So it's something that Clean Water Services does with all of the water providers who they share territory with. They share billing, but it no less confusing is in terms of the billing. And I'm sure it doesn't help that there are 4 or 5 other agencies named Tualatin Valley such and such. So
truly. We have a comment. Hope that you will encourage folks not to continue to prioritize green lawns for the earth. And that makes me think about HOAs, and how some HOAs are focused on making sure everybody has beautiful green lawns, and they'll come down, jump down your throat if you don't. And there's a big disconnect there. Do you guys work with HOAs to convince them not to be Nazis about their green lawns?
So, we can't convince anyone or tell anyone what to do or not to do with their water, but we do encourage HOAs to use their water as efficiently as possible. We will work with HOAs or directly with landscape companies to help them with their efficiency. We do promote everything from high efficiency sprinkler heads and nozzles to drip irrigations systems to efficiency controllers that are able to have internet access, and the ones with internet access can monitor weather, and they can skip irrigating on days that are with high wind, because then the wind just blows the water right away before it hits us. We always are happy to work with HOAs, especially as they come to us with questions. Typically, to be real honest, they come to us once they've discovered a leak in an irrigation pipe of theirs. We do offer leak programs to help offset some of those costs of water leaks once they're detected, if they are fixed within a set amount of time. So that's typically how those organizations come to us. And then we do go out into the field, walk the areas with them, and really try and promote our rebate programs, our conservation programs, and the educational component, because we do agree. Water use, when done efficiently, can make for very attractive landscaping, but that does not necessarily mean deep, dark green grass that's very, very soft to walk on all summer.
I'm trying to get my HOA to do to Naturescape our street side thing, and I'm getting some assistance from I can't think of the name of the agency, but it occurs to me that it's not the agency, the organization, Backyard Habitat people. But it occurs to me that you might think about offering a seminar or a webinar or something for HOAs as to how they can, because they want to keep their costs down, and water is expensive, and mowing and feeding and poisoning, lawn is expensive, not just in terms of money, but in terms of public safety and pets and so forth. I mean, we could go on.
Yeah.
So
It's a great point, Virginia, because it is something we actually did prior to COVID. We just haven't seen the interest tick back up since, but I will note it down because we do have a conservation specialist, gentleman named Steve, and I'll note that down and pass it along to him just in case he has gotten any other inquiries that we can put in that mark.
If
Virginia.
you could pass
Okay.
his information on to me as well, because I'm getting started with the backyard habitat people, and they expressed that they really want to work with HOAs, and I'm on our board, and it's a small HOA, so we have a chance of actually pulling something off here. Yeah, Bruce.
If somebody wanted to contact HOAs, how would you find, I don't know of how you would find the contact information for any particular HOA. Do you have any way of contacting the HOA? I mean, HOAs kind of are formed and then they disappear unless you're part of it. And then they, you get run through their ringer.
Yeah, the best thing that we've done, these come to us most frequently when we're seeking out utility easements for water main replacements, things like that. Bruce, the best thing I've found is to go to the Washington County Land Use Transportation website under their iSpirits app. You can zoom in under each individual tax lot in the county as long as you know at least some of the directional areas. You can zoom in. It's admittedly a little bit of a slower website interface, but iSpirits will get you all the way into the day. And then from there, it's a bit of blind Googling, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
Is that iSpirit, did you say? I didn't catch
Yeah,
that.
a lowercase I, uppercase S, Spirit.
Can you post that in the chat?
Yeah, I'll try and pull it up on my other screen real quick.
Perfect.
And see if I can grab the
Well,
the URL.
yeah, it's been an ongoing issue for those of us in the CPO. The county requires HOAs to do certain things, but they don't keep any kind of a database of who's in charge, and they keep throwing up their hands and saying, oh, we can't possibly do that. And I think, personally, I think it ought to be in the purview of the Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement, but what do I know?
I'm sorry, Virginia, I was trying to type and listen at the same
No
time.
problem, I hear
Not
you.
quite there, but yeah, the HOAs are fascinating organizations in that regard. Oh, I see Melissa's here, and
Oh, there she goes.
posted
Thank you,
for me.
Melissa.
Melissa, I'm not
You just
surprised
got
you're
it in there.
faster at finding that than
Well,
I
we
am.
need to keep moving. Justin, would you send me an email? Because I don't think I have your email, and I'd like to be in touch with you because this is all good stuff, and I want to keep covering it. And our next presentation is Washington County Sheriff's Office. And I'm sorry, we're running a little late, but we always cut the community engagement people short, and I want to stop doing that. Take it away.
Thanks, Virginia. I'm Tabitha. I'm with our Public Affairs Unit with Washington County Sheriff's Office. We just want to remind people that we have the National Night Out on Tuesday, August 1st. Registration is closing this July 14th. You can go into WCSO Oregon's website, so Washington County Sheriff's Office website, to register. I will also put it in the chat as well, the registration link. We just want to give some general safety tips for summer. For driving, please drive sober, buckle up. Don't text and drive, especially with more people driving in the summer. We just want to remind those tips. With water or swimming, please keep alert with anyone swimming near you. Keep eyes open. Never swim alone, and please wear life jackets. And then also don't leave pets or children inside warm vehicles, especially with summer heat rising. And then lastly, we are hiring. So we're hiring patrol deputies, jail deputies, jail service technicians, criminal records specialists. If you go to joinwcso.com, there's more information, and I can put that in the chat as well. And then I will share our calls for service map. I see we have Lieutenant Dagman. If he wants to talk about this at all, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Sorry, everybody. I'm on hour 4 trying to get back from Olympia, and I've just now made it to Cowlitz. So 4 hours to go, what should have been 2 hours. So I was hoping to get back in time, but I apologize. So I'm literally parked on the side of the road and calling in. So thanks for your patience. So looking at the calls for service, I pulled out some numbers. I knew we were going to have this. So some of the things we're seeing just in commonality, a lot of thefts have occurred in the last periods we reported. Most of those are thefts of opportunity. Looking at the reports, people who are leaving, items in their front yard, stuff that we used to be able to do 15 years ago, but now it just seems to be individuals going through neighborhoods, stealing bicycles, propane canisters, believe it or not, to barbecues, even lawn ornaments. They're just going through and just randomly stealing items. And of course, those get called in. And some of the thefts are larger, where individuals are breaking into cars that have left their windows open, or convertibles with their tops down, or garage doors that have been left open. So those are the high points when you look at the calls for service. So, and kind of jumping on with what Justin said, as the weather begins to change, the heat rises, people like to, including myself, we like to open our doors and windows at night so we don't have to run our ACs, kind of get the cool breeze in. But sometimes we forget those are open and we go to work or we go about our day. And those are opportunities for individuals to take advantage of that. So I want to make sure that we are, basically being safe when it comes to the season changes. And that's a big one. We don't want to give anyone the opportunity to create malicious behavior or anything like that. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is it's not, when we make arrests, the individuals that we're arresting, the suspects, they're not even from our area, not even from our county. They're from outside the county who come into the county, commit crime, and then they leave the county. And a lot of this is because just the lack of law enforcement resources available due to staffing, like Tabitha just said. Every agency is hiring, and we're literally doing the best that we can. We are still providing as much service as we did before, where it's just costing us overtime to do it. So don't think that because we have less staffing, we're not providing any more service than we have been in the past. So I want to make sure we're clear on that one. And then the next big item I want to talk about is it's called time, place, manner. It's a public camping regulation that is basically we're talking about, excuse me. And what that is the county really has never had any regulation when it comes to individuals who are just camping in areas that are generally open to the public or in private, even in private businesses. And what happened was the state came through and they passed an ordinance, a House Bill 3115. And what that does is that kind of allows different agencies, the counties, to meet a requirement that the state has put upon us. And that means that individuals, I'll kind of just read it out to where the way that we understand it best. What it means is the county doesn't have a public camping ordinance at this point in time, but these new guidelines, they're going to provide clarity and direction for us, law enforcement, and our partners to make sure that and all the stakeholders, that we make sure that we're allowing those individuals who are houseless or homeless the opportunity to give them resources. So we don't just go in and basically clear out their camps like we did on Highway 47. We give them ample time and we give them ample resources in order to move their items, their belongings, and then we will offer safe haven to those people as well. So that's kind of a new thing that's coming up where we're literally coming in and really offering shelter beds, shelter options, and other resources versus them having to be out, staying in these tents and the side of the road or in wooded areas where it's unsafe to do so. So that's a big one, and it allows us some public outreaches and a lot of that. So this is a great first step forward in working with our partners. And then the other thing I want to talk about, I have a list of notes that I think we need to share. We've seen an uptick in missing and endangered persons, people, and a lot of them are elderly who wander away from their homes. And we put a lot of resources because it's important that we find them and we get them home safely. And in the last couple months, we have responded to 4 individuals who have wandered away from their houses and residence or care facilities. So I just want to make sure that if we have someone like that, like my father-in-law, he had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. We had a little kind of a file card next to the phone that has all of the descriptors of Don: 6'4", 195 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, wearing whatever clothing he was wearing for that day. And that helps us when you call 911 to locate individuals like that. We can flood an area and get the resources there to find them. And it helps us to locate them and the right person and to get them home safely. So that's a tip that I want to make sure that we all kind of have that. If we have a loved one who is suffering from an illness like that. And I just think that's important to share. Because I just think it's important for all of us to understand that those type of situations are incredibly stressful for, not only the family members, but law enforcement, because we're trying to find them and get them home safely. So that will help us out significantly. And if you have someone who has wandered away, the non-emergency, the 503-629-0111, that's the number to call. That will give us the information as quickly as possible. What else? We did have, it's called Operation Whiskers, that we finish up. And what we're doing is we're multi-agencies. It was the Washington County Sheriff's Office, the DA's office, the U.S. Marshal Service. Operation Whiskers, we went out and we were targeting non-compliant sex offenders that are residing in the county. And out of 501 that we made contacts with, we wind up arresting 19 for being out of compliance. So that tells us that the system that we have in place is working. Of the individuals who are residing, they're required every year to come in and register at local law enforcement agencies, the location where they're living, any jobs that they have, any phones, mailing addresses, all of that. So that was actually a really great opportunity for us to test our system and make sure that the community members that we're serving, they're safe as well. So that was a win for us. And the last thing was, I'm not sure if everyone heard about it, but we had a missing 5-year-old boy out in the West End. And he and his puppy had wandered away from the house. They were gone from right around 4:00. And we had received the call about 4:35, 4:45. And luckily we found him about 9:00 at night. And after we put search and rescue out in the field, we had to clear a roadway, make our own roadway, to where the 5-year-old and this puppy were trapped down a ravine, and we're able to extricate him, get him back to his family. But again, we go back to, make sure if you have loved ones, little ones, puppies, that like to run around, make sure we're keeping track of them, because that was a wonderful win for us. And everyone was excited about that. But having little ones of my own, it was to listen to it and be involved in it. It was just kind of heartbreaking. So, make sure that we know where our loved ones are at. Those who are either real young or those who are in a challenging position. So I'm going to shut up now, and you guys can ask me any questions that you need to.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Jackman. That was a great report. I hope you can keep coming back. That's one of the best reports that we've had so far.
Well, this is only my first one. I took over for Lieutenant Rawlinson a couple of months ago, and I was hoping to be there because I thought it was going to be in person, but I had no idea. It took me 2.5 hours to get there. I'm in a class and it's taking me over 4 hours to get, I'm not even home yet. I'm still 2 hours from home. So,
Well, I hope you're not feeling too frustrated and
no,
worn out.
not at all.
Thank you. Thank you for making it to the meeting. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Tabitha. We've been a little bit puzzled about who is our community information person. It's like you guys have gone through quite a few folks in the last few months. And I know Mary Manso, CPO 7, has been puzzled. So are you the person from now on, or?
I am the
Or
lieutenant.
now.
Well, no, I was talking to Tabitha. Thanks.
Sorry. I'll shut up.
For now, for now, Virginia, we are down one community outreach person that in theory would run your area, your jurisdiction, and a couple other ones. So I am just filling in until that position gets filled, and then they would take over this area.
Okay.
So I don't know how long that will be. So I would just plan on having me for the future. The hiring process can be kind of long.
I was down and I was up at the Bethany and I was going to pop into the office, but I figured I'd be able to talk to you this evening. One suggestion though, when people leave, their email address just goes 404, and it really would make sense for you guys to have a forward to so that instead of just getting the undeliverable that we get, it gets forwarded to someone else. That's sort of demoralizing.
Yeah, and I don't think we can, it's the county. I'm not 100% sure, but the county shuts down our email address. So I think this would be for any county employee, not just sheriff's office employee. But I do hear you there. You can always go to the community outreach page. There is a public affairs email, and I can put that in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, please do. Thanks. Just like PRD, we rely on you guys for information as much as all the other services.
Yeah. One thing I just wanted to echo on what Lieutenant Dagman said. So for missing and endangered people, we have two great programs as well with the Sheriff's Office. One is called Help Me Home, and the other is called Project Lifesaver. Those are great programs if you know you have a loved one that could wander away from the home and could go missing. They're great resources for the Sheriff's Office and for other law enforcement agencies across Washington County can utilize them as well. So those are just other things to note.
Great. Okay, we're running really late, and so let's get back to our original programming. And it is time to hear from Randy Covey with Animal Services. Thank you for attending and thanks for your patience. We've flighted all our community partners, and we just decided it was time to let people ask questions and let them speak.
Yeah, no problem at all, Virginia. Thank you so much for the invitation, you and Bruce both. Happy to be here tonight. I appreciate everybody that's here. I see some names that I recognize. And John, I did see the chat. I'm so sorry I'm not there to meet you in person. That would have been an additional bonus for me tonight. I haven't seen you in a while. We did have a discussion with Virginia and Bruce and I and determined that generally when I'm sharing a presentation, since this is hybrid, it could be easier for me to do it remotely. I did have intent to be there in person, but this is the way things have shaken out, and I'm glad you're able to join us, all of you tonight anyway. So I'll jump right in. I'm going to take a minute to here in a minute, I'm going to share my presentation. Before I do that, I just want to say my name is Randy Covey. I'm the manager of Washington County Animal Services and the Bonnie Hayes Animal Shelter. I've been invited here tonight to talk a little bit about the services that we provide, but also to talk about our future planning process, specifically related to a new animal shelter that I want to make very clear has not yet been approved, but we're taking a lot of steps to make sure that we make the right decisions and we know what we need in a new animal shelter, how much it will cost, before we go to the Board of Commissioners to ask for permission to pursue funding and construction. So I will explain more about that later. So now I'm going to take a minute and share my presentation. And Virginia, does that show up the way that you hoped it would on the screen?
That looks good.
Okay, we had a discussion about sharing it as a slideshow versus just my desktop. So I hope you only see the slideshow. You should be
That's
seeing
right.
it.
That's right.
Okay.
It's only the slide.
Okay, so this
Sorry, I
is,
had to run downstairs for a minute. Yeah, that's perfect.
okay, well, I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to just start my presentation, and then there will be time to ask questions for those of you that would like to at the end. So I just need to figure out how to advance the slides. Okay. So Washington County Animal Services and the Bonnie Hayes Animal Shelter, we are essentially one and the same. Animal Services is the entirety of the services we provide. The Bonnie Hayes Animal Shelter is where we're located. It's where we operate from. And it's where we, of course, house all of the animals that are in need of our services here in Washington County. Our services are provided countywide. We're not just unincorporated Washington County, but we're the entirety of Washington County, including all of the incorporated cities, including Beaverton, Tigard, Hillsborough, King City, Gaston. All of the cities that are incorporated in Washington County fall under our auspices, and we provide services to one and all of the residents in Washington County. Our mission, as stated here on the slide, is to provide a safe haven for animals that are in transition, protect animals from harm, and to provide tools to the residents of our county to live safely, responsibly, and respectfully with animals. What we do, well, the list is here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the items on the list. When we talk about caring for stray animals and helping lost pets get back home, we are primarily a stray animal facility, which means we're not a humane society, private nonprofit humane society like Oregon Humane Society or the cat adoption team. We're a government agency, and our primary responsibility and mandate is to address the stray animal concerns in Washington County. So that means primarily stray dogs are the animals that are mostly regulated in Washington County. You know, there are laws about dogs running at large. There are laws that regulate dangerous dogs. There are leash laws in Washington County. But there are also a lot of stray animals, including cats and other types of animals in Washington County. And our mission is to provide services related to stray animals. Again, primarily dogs, to a lesser extent, cats, and other miscellaneous animals as it comes through our doors. We transfer adoptable animals to community partners to find new homes. What that means is that we, especially in light of some information and things that have happened in relation to our operations in recent years, have determined that we are not currently able to house animals long enough to be able to have a viable adoption program. But what we've done is that we've developed some really good relationships with our animal shelter partners in the greater Portland metro area. And so when we have animals here, our priority is to try to find their owners. If we can't find their owners, or for other reasons can't return animals to their homes, then we transfer a lot of animals to our community partners, and they use their adoption programs, foster programs, to find really good positive outcomes for those animals. We do, in some special cases, adopt animals directly from our shelter, and we hope to get back to that service in future years, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in this presentation. We license dogs. It is required that all dogs in Washington County be licensed, and our agency is the place to come to do that. You can do it online, you can do it over the phone, you can do it in person. It is a requirement. It's also very helpful to you as a dog owner because it helps us get your pet back to you. Some people say if, I say when, because we've learned that we have a lot of people that come in that say, I never thought my dog would escape and end up in a shelter, and yet we're talking to them and happily returning their pet to them. We investigate animal abuse and neglect. It's one of the more serious aspects of our services. We have 6 animal services officers and a field supervisor that respond to all manner of animal concerns. But we do investigate animal abuse and neglect in Washington County. If it's a concern that can be addressed through county code violation, we'll address it that way. If it's a more serious concern that needs to be addressed through criminal action, we do the investigation and then we share that information with our local law enforcement partners and the DA's office to prosecute those cases through the criminal codes. We enforce Washington County Animal Services codes, everything from dog at large to dangerous dogs to dog license requirements, to stray hold times, to animal abuse and neglect. There's a large number of codes that are in Washington County that we are responsible for enforcing. Dangerous dogs is something that we take very seriously. Everything from dogs that chase children in the street, to dogs that attack other people's pets, to dogs that charge aggressively. There are codes that address those various aspects of dangerous dogs, and we take those complaints very seriously. We investigate them, and we take whatever action is appropriate to address that. We also offer resources to the community on how best to live with pets. We go out to community events. We go to the Hillsborough Farmers Market. We go to the Washington County Fair. We're going to be at, it was mentioned earlier by the Sheriff's Office, I believe, National Night Out. We'll have a booth at one of those events, sharing information with the community about the services we offer and try to answer their questions about responsible pet ownership and living with pets in Washington County. We provide volunteer opportunities for people that are interested in getting involved and helping us provide the services we provide. And we also plan for emergency and disaster response as an active partner in the greater Washington County emergency planning effort. So by the numbers, I ran these numbers just recently for this presentation and updated them for 2022, the most recent year. We run these stats from January 1st through December 31st of each year. And I just want to share this with you. In 2022, we took in 1,752 animals. Stray, injured, neglected, abused, or other encompasses all those miscellaneous things that aren't otherwise addressed, and can include situations where there was maybe a dangerous dog that was impounded, and the owner determined that they either can't meet the requirements for keeping it, or they don't feel safe in their own home, even with their own dog, and we end up with those pets. 866 of those animals were returned to their owners. That's a number that we're proud of. We have one of the highest return to owner rates in the United States of America. I'm very proud of that. Our staff does a great job in tracking down owners and leaving no stone unturned to get pets back to their homes, which is where we believe they most want to be, and we believe there are people looking for them, and we make those reunions. The animals we can't return, either because we can't find their owners or for other reasons, we adopt out. As I mentioned, there are some special situations where we adopt directly from our agency. Those are mostly situations where somebody finds a pet, they find a dog, for example, and they bring it to us and say, hey, this was roaming down my street. it's a great dog. I kept it overnight before I brought it to you or called, asked you to pick it up. I'm really interested in adopting it if it becomes available. We call those finder to adopt. And so the people that find those pets get first priority. And if for whatever reason we can't find the owner or the animal becomes the property of Washington County, those people get the first option to adopt that pet back into their homes. But the majority of animals that come through here that we can't return home are placed with our rescue partners. 636 of those in 2022 had successful positive outcomes by being transferred out to other animal agencies in the Portland Metro region. Those include, I mentioned a couple earlier, the Oregon Humane Society, Cat Adoption Team, and other smaller rescue partners that very generously help us with placing those animals. We have a 90.1% live release rate in 2022. That again is exceptionally high for a government animal services agency. That means that 90% of the animals that come into our shelter leave with a positive outcome. We're very busy. You might have experienced trying to call in and talk to our staff or ask a question or ask for service. I want to apologize here and loud and clear. We try very hard to answer every phone call that comes in live. However, with this many of number of phone calls that come into our business into our agency every business day, it's a challenge. So we do have a phone messaging service. When our staff aren't actually answering the phones, they are checking messages and returning phone calls as quick as they can. But as you can see, that's a lot of phone traffic that comes into our agency. In regards to responding to requests for service, we responded to 3,680 new field responses for animal concerns in 2022. And then that's the initial response. That's a new complaint that comes in. Each one of those complaints generally requires some sort of follow-up. And in 2022, there were an additional 5,481 of those. Pretty significant numbers. Statistically speaking, animal services agencies respond to or receive about 3 times the number of calls as your typical traditional law enforcement agency when you compare the number of calls to the number of officers available. We're very busy. I think we do an excellent job, but we recognize that that does mean that sometimes there are delays, and we're doing our best to address that as each day comes forward. I want to share this information with you. Well, actually, I'm going to back up a minute. So there's been some, I'm surprised when I hear this, but I've heard from some people that they've been told or they believe that we were closed during the pandemic. We were not closed during the pandemic. Like every other agency and every other, a lot of businesses, we did close our doors and lock them in the early days of the pandemic to mitigate the public interaction and close contact based on what was believed to be true at the time. That was one of the adjustments that we made. However, we never actually closed our operation. In fact, we were one of the few county agencies that had staff, all of our staff, coming to work, responding to the animal shelter every day that we would normally be open, and answering phone calls and letting people in the door when they had stray animals or when they were coming to reclaim their animals. And we were in full operation other than just public access to the facility during the pandemic. So I share that to share this. During the pandemic, we had a special investigation. We got a call from actually some animal welfare experts and dog trainers in Washington County, and they were concerned about a person who they knew who had dogs and in their home, and they called us a little bit trepidatious because they were animal experts, and they wanted to be able to take care of their friend and their friend's animals on their own. But when they saw the conditions that these pets were in, they called us and they said, "We need help." When we arrived, there were 9 dogs and 1 cat. They didn't have any food or water. Many were caged, very thin. In fact, a couple had to be assisted in walking and transported immediately to an emergency veterinary clinic for immediate care. But the short version of this story is that the animals were rescued. The owner was charged with neglect under the criminal laws of the state of Oregon. And we were able to demonstrate that even during the pandemic, we were here to serve the community in very professional ways, and to conduct the full investigation that resulted in conviction of the person for animal neglect. And that led to this comment, which I'm very happy to share. This is from Mia. Mia is one of the people who called. She admitted to us that she called us reluctantly because she didn't know what to expect. But after we responded, after we served a search warrant, after we did the investigation, and had a final positive result for all of the animals, she shared this. She wrote us a nice letter and shared this as part of the letter, and said, "I've come to recognize Washington County Animal Services as the gold standard by which I judge all other animal control agencies." I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm happy to share that with you. Ongoing challenges. Okay, this is the part where, by the way, I'm not monitoring the chat. There will be time for questions at the end of, as much time as Virginia is willing or able to allow. So I'm just gonna go through this as quickly as possible, and hopefully I'll be able to answer questions at the end. So ongoing challenges. In 2019, we had an audit, and the results of that audit restricted the number of animals held in the shelter. We were restricted, and I think appropriately so. And I'm not just saying that because John is in the audience. I actually personally and professionally believe that the audit is one of the best things that happened to our operation, because it gave us some really clear information, guidance, and planning information to be able to really improve our services and determine what's important and where we need to go from here. But that audit restricted the number of animals held in shelter. And by restrict, I mean, we in order to be able to adequately provide for animals, we are limited to 26 cats and 48 dogs in our shelter at any one time. And we can't hold any single animal in our shelter for longer than 2 weeks without providing additional enrichment. That has led us to limit the intake of healthy stray cats, which has been honestly a little controversial in the community. There are a lot of healthy stray cats, and that we would like to provide services for. We simply can't. But we have plans to be able to do that in the future, which I'm getting to. We have in-house adoptions, limited special situations. I talked about that earlier. Our shelter is crowded. It was built in the 1990s. We have far outgrown the shelter space for both animals and staffing and the public. And so those are some real current challenges for us. We have frequent maintenance issues, leaky roof. We unfortunately had to spend a lot of money, or the county did, on replacing our HVAC system just to be able to maintain a healthy environment for the animals that we do have here. But there are significant other maintenance issues that continue to come up, and will until we find a permanent solution. And as we all know, Washington County is growing. I believe the last estimate I saw is that in the next decade, Washington County is expected to grow another 15% in terms of human population. And of course, that will result in an increased demand for animal services. So what are we doing about the shelter? We're working to include it in the county facilities master plan. We're working with county facilities. We have a really good open communication line with them. And although we don't control their timeline for coming up with a final facilities master plan, I've been assured personally and professionally that that we are very much in their planning process. And being the tenacious person that I am, I don't intend to let them forget that we exist. And I'm very optimistic that ultimately is going to be in their final master plan document. Animal services will be high on the priority list as terms of a new shelter. And to help facilitate that whole process, in September of 2020, wow, that's 2.5 years ago, time flies. But at the height of the pandemic, we presented to the Board of County Commissioners, the BCC, and asked this question: does your board support animal services taking proactive steps to explore both the type of facility needed to meet the changing needs of the county and potential funding sources to help pay for a new animal shelter? The Board of County Commissioners responded with a unanimous yes. And so I want to share a little bit of information about what we've done since then. These are the steps we've taken. We have contracted with Animal Arts, which is a national architectural firm, and Carlton Hart, which is a local architectural firm. Under one contract, we contracted with Animal Arts, they subcontracted with Carlton Hart, and they are actually in the process, as we speak, of conducting a shelter facility needs assessment. They've gathered data about our stats, our staffing, our population trends in Washington County. They have already solicited staff and volunteer input. We, with them, conducted a public meeting seeking community input on what the community wants to see in a new animal shelter and what the community expects from animal services in terms of services provided going into the future. And when this is complete, which we expect to be in the next month or so, we expect the results to reveal the facility size and scope of future services, to tell us what the estimated cost of a new animal shelter might be, and to help us determine potential building site needs, whether we could do that at the current location, which doesn't seem likely in all honesty, or whether we would need to find a new location for an animal shelter. Next steps. Well, our next step, once we determine from our current contractor what type of facility we need, what size of facility we need, and how much it would cost, our next step, which we expect to be taking very quickly in the next few months, is to contract with animal shelter fundraising experts and conduct a fundraising feasibility study. That's a lot of words. I'm surprised I got that out without mumbling or stumbling. But the intent of that is to tell us how much money do the experts think we could actually raise in Washington County for the purpose of building a new animal shelter. And does it seem feasible that we could do that? And then we're going to combine those reports, fundraising report, the facility needs assessment report, to formulate, to determine the cost and formulate a funding plan to replace the animal shelter. And then we will return to the Board of County Commissioners with a request to authorize fundraising and construction. We're not there yet. We don't have permission yet to build a new animal shelter, but we are going to ask for it. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what is going to happen between now and then. I don't know how the county commissioners are going to respond. What I do know is that the commissioners are aware of the audit. They're aware of the challenges we face with the current facility. They're very supportive of Animal Services' current operation and very interested in making sure that we are able to continue to provide not just current services, but expanded services that might be needed in the future. So that was, I felt like I was talking a mile a minute. I hope it all made sense. And now I will, I think, stop sharing if I can.
Yeah, you stop sharing. You're good. We
Okay.
can see you. Bruce has his hand up.
Well, we have
And,
a question in the chat that I'll read.
Yeah.
It's from John Hutzler, the outgoing Washington County auditor. Maybe he's the outwent
Emeritus.
emeritus. He writes, Randy, what is your most optimistic estimate of when a new animal shelter might open? That's one. And the second is, what are the chances the county itself will contribute a significant portion of capital funds for the construction of the new facility?
Yeah, great question. My most optimistic estimate is within 5 years. That's I'm taking that question exactly the way it's worded. That's my most optimistic estimate. And I think I'll leave that at that. As far as the chances the county itself would contribute a significant proportion of the capital funds, boy, your guess is as good as mine, John, and everybody else that's here at this meeting. I think we all know, or most of us are aware, that the county has just entered some pretty challenging financial times. We've got some a lot of needs in the county that we would be competing with. And yeah, I think the chances are low that the county would contribute significantly. I'm still optimistic. I know that there are a lot of people that support animal welfare in not just Washington County, but in the greater Portland metro area. I looked at Oregon Humane Society and I see that they have just completed a multi-million-dollar construction effort with the new community veterinary clinic and training facility. And so I know that there is support out there. My best guess is that in order for us to build a new animal shelter, it will require significant private donations to make it happen.
I got a couple of questions. Is there anything in the Oregon revised statutes that mandates counties will provide animal services that you know of?
That's a tough question to answer in a simple way, Bruce. There are provisions in the Oregon revised statutes that address dog control. Dog control is, I think, for purposes of this discussion, I would say dog control is a mandate. But it's more mandated in terms of how you can provide it as opposed to whether you provide it or not. So if you provide dog control, counties have the option of doing it the way Washington County does, which I think is by far the best operational model in the state, because it encompasses the entire county, and it combines the animal shelter services with the enforcement of the dog control laws, animal control, animal services codes. But dog licensing and rabies vaccination are the primary aspects of dog control and dangerous dogs. Beyond that, I'm not aware of any mandate. And the county or the state law does allow counties to step away from the state codes and implement their own codes, which is what Washington County Animal Services has chosen to do. So in Washington County, we have implemented our own codes as allowed under state law. And I believe they are easier for the public to understand, easier for the county to enforce, and creates allows for a lot more leeway and flexibility in making changes to those codes as the community expectations and needs evolve over time.
And the second part is, do cities contribute any money for animal control services?
Boy, you ask great questions. That again, the short answer is no.
Okay.
Now, when I say that, I'm going to also add, I think it's a well-designed intent that cities do not contribute annually to the animal services operation. Now, city citizens do contribute through dog licensing. Dog licensing is one of the primary funding sources for animal services. The general fund and dog licenses are the primary sources of revenue. So when residents of Beaverton or Tigard or Hillsborough pay for their dog license, that they are city residents, but they're contributing to the operation of the animal shelter. So in that regard, the cities do contribute. The reason I say this model is perfect is because I've worked in a model in Lane County when I was manager of Lane County Animal Services, dating myself here, but you can see my gray hair, so I guess it's okay.
It's noble.
Back in the 90s. In that model, the cities contributed out of their budget, and it was a disaster. It was confusing. City of Eugene, for example, would have a budget deficit, and they would cut their funding to animal services, which was a county agency. And so then the county would have to adjust their budget and adjust the services that way. The citizens were confused because there was a different set of codes in the city of Eugene than there was in the unincorporated areas of Lane County. It was a mess. In Washington County, we don't have any of that. The county has determined that they will provide the animal services. All of the cities have an agreement that dates back to the 1980s in Washington County. 1986, I think, is, if I'm remembering correctly, when all of these agreements were signed, where the cities recognized Washington County as the authority for animal services, recognized the Animal Services Code as the only code to regulate animals. And so the citizens have a very one-stop shop for any concerns about animal welfare. Dog licensing is a single source purchase. Rabies vaccination regulation is done through a single agency. Animal code enforcement, there's no boundaries within the county. Our officers don't have to say, well, let's see, this call is in Tigard, so I need to get out my Tigard code book and codes. None of that happens in Washington County. It's all combined into one single service agency, and it works very well. I hope that doesn't change.
And how many dogs are licensed in Washington County? Approximately.
Boy, you know, I should know the answer to that.
Well, I was thinking you might.
Let me do some quick math.
Okay.
Because I don't have that stat right in front of me, but I'm going to do some quick.
Dum 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 dum.
And I'm going to just do that divided by an estimated cost per license. I'm going to give this a very rough number. Yeah, not enough dogs. That's the funny answer. But my estimate is about 35,000 dogs are licensed in Washington County. Now, the reason that's hard to pinpoint is because when we sell dog licenses, you can buy a dog license for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. So I can't take the number of dog licenses sold in 1 year and extrapolate that out to an actual number. So that number that I gave you is probably low, because what I did was I took our annual dog license revenue, estimated rough from my own recollection, and divided that by the average cost of a dog license to get the annual dog license sales. So my answer is more probably better described as that's how many dog licenses we sell per year. It's about 35,000. So some of those are 2-year licenses, some of them are 3-year licenses. But if I had to make another educated guess, I would say that we probably license overall about a little less than 50% of the dogs in Washington County. Some of you may have seen our dog license ad campaign that we put on local TV, encouraging people to license their dogs. That's been very successful for us. We get a lot of people that tell us, come in to buy a license and say, I never even knew we had to have a dog license. Most of those people we believe, some we don't, because we've had contact with them in the past, and we know they knew better. But by and large, we believe that people are well-intentioned, recognize that it is a requirement that they buy a dog license, and we're doing our best to help them come into compliance. Having a dog license on your dog and a microchip is by and large the absolute best way to make sure your pet gets back to you when it's lost.
Okay, very good. Thank
How
you.
are we doing on time, Virginia?
I'm sorry, I was off checking with an urgent email. We're okay. I am not seeing any hands up. And I do thank you for addressing the issue of the adoptions. As we discussed, we've had somebody that's been very outspoken about it. And I understand better. I also know from the other side, having a dog that I adopted from one of those services, that in the past, I don't think they've been very well vetted, but you discussed with me that there are outside agencies. Our pup had too much done to her when she was too tiny, and she had immune deficient issues because of all the insults to her immune system. And I hope you guys pay some attention to that. I don't know why, but Portland seems to be the hub for a bunch of bad breeders that breed small mixed breed dogs. I mean, I see my dog's cousins everywhere. and that, they're not always completely ethically dealt with. So I hope that you're putting the energy you can't put into the adoption process into vetting those agencies.
Yeah, well, I take solace in the fact that things have greatly improved over the years. I've been an animal.
She's 10, so it was a while ago.
Yeah, I wish I could say that doesn't happen anymore, but it does. There certainly are issues with irresponsible breeding and pets with significant medical issues being made available to the public. We try really hard to address those when we get animals that come into our shelter. In fact, that's one of the current challenges with adopting animals, not just from us, because our adoptions are limited, but what we're hearing from our partners that we transfer animals to is that a lot of the animals that we're seeing come through shelters now have significant either behavior or medical issues that make them a real challenge to try to find a good positive outcome for. Now we're lucky in that the number of animals coming through, number of stray animals coming through animal shelters is also greatly reduced over the last couple of decades. But it doesn't change the fact that 10, 20 years ago, we would have no shortage of healthy puppies or healthy other dogs that come through a shelter. And now we see very few puppies because they're being adopted or sold directly to families. And so the animals that we do see come through the shelter are or by and large, a significant number of them have health and behavior issues that make them challenging, and they need extra care and extra training and extra medical care. We have a full-time veterinarian on staff, and she's kept very busy, not just keeping our shelter population healthy, but also treating the animals that come through, so that when we transfer them out, we can share the best information possible with our transfer partners about what the health concerns are, what we've started in terms of treatment, and what they may need to do to continue that treatment as they look for new homes.
Do you have partnerships with veterinary clinics, or do you provide all the care yourself?
We don't have partnerships. Well, no, I take that back. We do have some veterinary clinics that are very generous in donating their services to animals that are taken to them as strays. They'll do an initial assessment. They might provide some treatment before they transfer them to us. But by and large, all of the services for the animals that come into our shelter are provided by our own staff, our own medical team. I say team, it's one full-time veterinarian and currently one CVT, but we're in the process of hiring a second one. But that's our medical team. We do have contracts with veterinary services, so that if our veterinarian is out at a training or on vacation or ill, heaven forbid, or otherwise unavailable, we do have access to other veterinary services, but that's through a contract, and we pay them for those services. And that works very well.
I did only have half an ear on your discussion, and I apologize. I'll listen to it afterwards. Did anybody ask you how we can help? Are you going to be doing fundraising for the new shelter? How can we help?
So I'm going to be honest with you, Virginia, and everybody else here. I don't have permission to start an active request for money for a new shelter. That would need to come from the Board of County Commissioners. We do expect to ask for that. There's no reason I'm aware of that they would say no, but I don't have that permission yet. Now I can't stop people.
That ask? Can we write to the commission?
When the time comes, absolutely.
Great.
I would appreciate that support. But as you'll see when you review my presentation, what I talked about is that we have certain steps that we're following. The current step is to determine our facility needs and the cost. The next step is to determine what the fundraising options are. And then the final step is to go to the Board of Commissioners and ask them permission to raise money and start the process of actually building a shelter. We don't have any contracts out. We don't have any building expenses pending for construction of a new shelter. None of that has started. We have started the conversation because we do have permission from the Board of Commissioners to explore what we need in a new facility and what the cost will be. We do have that permission, and those are the steps we're taking now.
Great, thank you. I guess unless there are other questions or comments, thank you so much for attending. I think you covered it very well.
Very well. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for being here, for listening to me just ramble on and on.
And you were concise. You were well. That was a good presentation. Better.
Yeah, and we all learned a lot. And I'm going to learn even more when I go back and watch it again. I'm sorry. I had some urgent stuff pop up in my email.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Well, our next topic. Oh, I'm going to go back because in our excitement to get on to Randy's presentation, I left out the CPO announcements. And one is that if you're interested in CPO and you're not already reading the Cedar Mill News, We include a lot of information about what's going on in CPO 1 and beyond every month in the CPO News article in the Cedar Mill News. And I just published a link to that. And if you don't already, go ahead and sign up to get the Cedar Mill News in your inbox. Next couple of weeks, Think Out Loud is planning to come and visit Cedar Grove, which is the location where we've been doing our in-person meetings. And I want to apologize to everybody who turned up there. Bruce, there were 10 people that turned up.
There were 10 people that showed up?
10 people, yep. So I have apologized to a couple of them, but I'll apologize to the rest. We'll never make that happen again. We're happy that people are starting to show up. Anyway, onward and upward. But Cedar Grove is our affordable housing apartment building at the corner of Murray and Cornell. And Think Out Loud is going to be there. She thinks it's going to be on July 27th, but she's not positive, and she'd like to have community members show up. So I mentioned that she being Rachel, can't think of her last name. Anyway, she's one of the leaders of Community Partners for Affordable Housing, who created the Cedar Grove apartment building. And in the last issue of the news, in the CPO news item, I mentioned that the community room is available for all sorts of community groups to use. It has a big screen, it has a sink and some counter space, it has seating, and it's a really, really nice venue for all types of community groups. And the information is in that article. If you've got a group that needs a place to meet, Cedar Mill doesn't have an awful lot of very nice meeting spaces, and it's open. Moving right along.
Rachel Duke is the woman's name. Rachel Duke. Rachel Duke is the woman's name.
No. Anyway, so if you're interested in that, go look at the article, and it has the contact information. And if you're interested in heading down there for the Think Out Loud event taping, I will put that in the CPO 1 Facebook page, and I'll post a link to that in a minute when I get around to it. The Cedar Mill Cider Festival is coming up on September 24th, and we'd love to have anyone that wants to be involved to reach out. We need volunteers to help plan the big history chant that we put up, to plan it, to get things ready, to set up, and then just hanging out there to welcome people. You don't have to know a lot about Cedar Mill history. We'll help you out with that. Bruce is one of our major cider wranglers, and he manages the troop of Boy Scouts and getting the equipment there and making sure that we're cranking out cider for everybody. Aside from that, we have Lauren. Last names have left my head. Anyway, Lauren and her band will provide music. We've got Furchie's Barbecue again, like we did last year. They provided us with yummy food. And again, this year we'll have hard cider from Reverend Knapp. We have a whole bunch of really cool vendors that have already signed up for our vendor alley. There's kids activities provided by THPRD, and it's just loads of fun. I'm just in the process of ordering myself another 1905 outfit. I want to dress up like one of the ladies in the iconic J.Q.I. Young house picture, so that's fun. And we have a few more period costumes that are available. If you want to come and hang out at the history tent and dress up, I can help you out with that. It's all good fun. You know, let's keep the spirit of the Cedar Mill community alive. And we could use a volunteer or two to man the CPO booth, because it's a good opportunity to do outreach and get more people interested in CPO. So for all of that, I am putting my personal email in here. And if you want to help out with any of that, please let me know. All right. So the next item on our official agenda is, what do you value about the CPO system? What do you miss? What could we be doing that's better? As I mentioned at the beginning, the CPO and the CCI has been in an ongoing existential crisis, seriously, because the county doesn't quite know what to do with us. The Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement has their own ideas, none of which make us very happy. And so we are in the process of trying to define what we would like to see going forward in the future. And it would really help us to hear from all of you who took time out of your busy lives and your nice summer evening to be here. And I just want to throw it open. You can put something in chat. You can raise your hand. You can. I'll be happy to let anybody talk and just share with us what brought you here tonight, what brings you back, what frustrates you, what makes you happy. What? Nothing. We're all doing perfectly, but we can't keep doing it. We need to hear from folks about how we can, how we can better meet your needs and move forward. Mary Lou.
That would be me.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I've lived in the Cedar Mill area for quite a few years, but I didn't get involved with the CPO one until, I don't know, fairly recently.
Excuse me a moment. I think what I'm going to do is promote all the attendees to panelists so we can all see each other.
Oh.
Any problems with that?
No.
Okay. So you're all going to get a message asking if you want to be a panelist. I'm getting overwhelmed here. I'll get to all of you. You don't have to, but you have the opportunity. Okay, a couple of people declined. If I missed you and you want to be on camera, let me know. Okay, so go ahead, Mary Lou. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just occurred to me it'd be fun if we could all see each other.
That's fine. No, I was just going to say, I have learned so much about the workings of the county, how different the unincorporated areas operate compared to the cities. And quite frankly, if we didn't have this CPO, I would feel completely living in the unincorporated areas. I just wouldn't know what's going on. I would feel just sort of out of it. And I think this is probably the most important organization for residents, whether you're homeowners or apartment dwellers or whatever. This is where you really come to find out things, and you have a voice. You can reach out, you can say what you want, you can ask questions. This is the place. Other than attending neighborhood meetings when some developer decides to, buy a piece of property and put in 23 houses on it. I mean, you got to show up at those meetings too, but that's really close to wherever you live. And the CPO is the broader area. But I've gotten to the place now where I really look forward to these meetings, and I've gotten involved, So.
Yeah, well, thank you. All those are things that we do try to do. And I don't know how many of you read the article I wrote a couple of months ago about the OEICE's presentation to the board in May.
Right.
They offered 3 possible homes for the CPO program. One was in land use and transportation, which is pretty much the fox guarding the hen house.
It was
That's
for the
amazing.
CCI. It wasn't for the CPO.
Well, I don't think most people really completely understand the difference between that. But one of them was under the Planning Commission, and I forget what the other one was. But none of them gave us the kind of independence that I feel that we need. And what you touched on, Mary Lou, about being an outside source for information about what's going on in the county, that we take that pretty seriously. That
For sure.
I mean, part of our mission is to deliver information that the county wants folks to know, but that isn't the whole of our mission.
No.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I didn't hear Mary Lou say specifically that it's an outside organization. It simply is the organization that is doing it in this area of the county.
It's an
Right.
it's an organization where just regular people that live here can have a voice. I mean, you know, it's not like you have to be testifying in front of the county commissioners or something, but you can. But this is the place if you want to get involved and bring up topics that need to be discussed, or you have questions, you know, you want to know, you know, why there's a bulldozer in your backyard chopping and pushing over every tree and digging up every wetland. I mean, if you don't come to the CPO one, or you don't ask questions somewhere, you know, you're left wondering what is going on and what you can do about it.
I don't see any more hands up or anything. Mary Lou, you want to give a quick plug for tree keepers? Oh, I see Stacy. Let me go ahead and let Mary Lou give a plug for tree keepers, and then we'd be glad to hear from you too, Stacy.
Sure. Tree Keepers of Washington County. We just had a meeting this evening at my house. We're an organization that exists simply to find ways to protect existing trees in the unincorporated areas of Washington County, because right now in the Community Development Code, there is no protection for trees. And so therefore you notice that most developers, when they decide to build houses on property that they buy, they bulldoze, they remove every tree because that way it's easier for them to cram in more houses closer together and have high density. But if you don't leave any room for trees, you're just asking for a heat dome, and you're just asking for the livability to not be great. So we would like the county to hire an urban forester, number one. And number two, we would like a code in the Community Development Code that protects existing trees. Beaverton has it, Hillsborough has it, Forest Grove has it, you know, the cities have it, but the unincorporated areas don't.
I hate to keep harping on it, but there are two things. We'd all have to vote for our county commissioners, and we need to take a look at who's financing them. And then we need to get money out of elections in Washington County in Oregon, because I think those are two big barriers to all of those goals that you stated, Mary Lou. And I don't care who hears me say it, I'm going to keep saying it.
Well, anyway, we have a really nice website if you want to read.
Yeah, I just posted it.
Yeah, because it's treekeeperswc.org. And we have
great newsletter.
We
nice
have a great
tree walk,
newsletter.
all kinds of stuff. if you
It's-
just want to get out and go for a nice walk and learn about a few trees in your neighborhood, that's
we have
something you
tree,
can
we
do.
have tree walks. Yes, we do.
I'm going to make it to one of those one of these days.
I,
Okay,
we
Stacy.
can always use volunteers.
Thanks, Mary Lou.
Wanted to say thank you very much. I appreciate the CPO and the advocacy that the CPO helps facilitate for the community members. As we've been hearing, I think that the CPO and you all offer a great opportunity for us not only to have information, but also you have wonderful institutional knowledge, and you're really good at connecting community members with resources. So thank you very much for all the work that you do. We, as a specific example, have a real concern about Thompson Road and the safety at a curve there. And your help has been amazing, so that we feel that we have some voice, which without that, we're left with concern and not a direction. So thank you so much.
You bet. Well, you know what? It's 9 o'clock. I don't know where Bruce went, but I'm ready to call it. There he is. What do you say? All right. Let's hear a message to a motion to adjourn. Yeah. Moved and seconded. Okay. That's the way we do it here. All right. Thanks everybody for attending and sticking it out to the end. And we'll keep you posted on our work to find a safe home for the CPO system and all the rest of the stuff that we're